because he was, yeah.
So, okay, he walks into the shop. It's 10 minutes before closing time on a Friday night. In your estimation, he's inebriated. He is entitled to his reputation, meaning he already assumes you should know who he is as well. And he lays 3 water-damaged laptops on your counter. Tell me what you do then. Do you decide to stay late? You said you wanted to help him out. Does he stay with you? What's the process at that point in time?
So I take a look at the first machine. It was a complete write-off. Apple solders the components to the logic board, so there's no way that I can recover data if I can't power on the machine, and the machine was just too far gone. So I just pushed that back to him. The second machine just had some inoperable keys, so I said, hey, look, here's a keyboard. You can use the keyboard to log in. That's when, unfortunately, he informed me of what his password was. And then I...
What was that?
Oh, I don't want to repeat that on the news.
It was something inappropriate?
It was very inappropriate.
Yeah.
So I gave him a keyboard so he could facilitate his own backup. Again, because I felt bad for this guy. I thought he was upset and he had been out on a bender because he was trying to reconcile with his dead brother's data that's on these computers. The third computer, there was a glimmer of life, but it would have required me to check it in so I could take it apart, disconnect some components to get the machine up and running. And I explained that process with him. I printed up an authorization allowing me to take custody of the machine. And I had him sign that document, review the document with him, and then he left. And then I took the machine into the back and I started working on it.
So, and for what it's worth for anybody watching that wants to know, by the way, his password, which is part of what is revealed in your book, references, I think, 2 separate sex acts at the same time in one password. And he shares that with you. And it's my understanding, then, so does he take the first 2 laptops with him when he leaves and leaves only one of the 3 with you in your custody?
Correct.
Okay, and so now you stay at the shop and you decide, I'm gonna go ahead and start what? Start doing what to this computer?
Well, he hired me to do the data recovery. So I booted up the machine, got the machine to a point where I could start to do a recovery. And the condition of the machine didn't allow me to do what's called a forensic copy. I had to literally just drag and drop folders. So I dragged the most important folder, dragged and dropped it to the server, and I said that's good enough for tonight, and I left. I came back the next morning to discover that the machine had died during the process. I only was able to recover about 1/3 of the data. So I had to kind of go through and look at what I recovered, compared it to the original to see what made it over and what didn't. And that's when I realized that the person, this is not his brother's laptop, and that the person that's starring in a lot of this homemade porn is actually the guy that dropped off the laptop.
Okay, so during the data recovery process, you begin to see what is on the files?
During the verification. So when I went to go and copy data and then the machine shut down, I don't know where it stopped. It didn't complete the copy, so I had to look at 2 lists of the data, and then where something didn't match up, I'd click on it and then drag it to the folder so that the 2 lists would match up. It's in that process of clicking on a file, looking at the thumbnail, previewing the image, that's when I realized there was a considerable amount of pornography on this computer.
Which I've heard you say, by the way, is par for the course in your business.
Yeah, it's an occupational hazard.
What, a lot of people have porn on their computer and a lot of people seem to damage their computer, so you see what's on a lot of people's computers?
It depends. If I'm hired to recover data, or if somebody's having a problem with their data, then I'm going to have to look at the data to perform that. If somebody just needs the screen replaced on their laptop, there's absolutely no reason to look at a customer's data at that point. It's not the cause of the problem.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with you on that because I think I've never taken a device to a repair shop, so I can't speak from personal experience, but I guess I might assume there's some expectation of privacy. Should Hunter have assumed some expectation of privacy at this point when it's in your custody? Did you break any ethical guidelines or anything by looking at his data?
You know what? I don't think so. I know there's been a lot of people out there that question that. He wanted me to recover his data. When a customer requires a data recovery, it's usually for 2 things. Movies and pictures. It's for the things that you can't replace. You can always write a paper again if it's a college paper. You can always re-download music that you've downloaded, or you can always anything that's you've downloaded, you can always replace. You can't go back in time and take a photograph or a movie. Once you lose that data, that's irreplaceable. So when people come in for data recovery, that's what they want. That's what's irreplaceable. So I have to go in and recover typically that type of data, pictures and video. And to make sure, I'm not going to drag and drop a folder and then call a customer and say, hey, it's done, come on in, give me your credit card. I'm going to make sure that I did the job correctly. And in that process, you have to verify the content that's on the computer. Whether it's just quickly looking at it in a list view, or if it's a case of where there's a potential of data corruption, corruption manifests itself in video formats more than anything else, because video is very intensive, audio is intensive. If there's corruption, it'll pop, it'll squeak, the video will get distorted. It'll manifest itself and you'll be able to see it. So when I opened up a video file that was rather large, that would have been a prime candidate for corruption if there was any corruption in the data transfer, that just so happened to be a homemade video of Hunter. So